Hello. We are talking about a very important topic today. And if you are serious about your mental health and about your spiritual growth and your development as a human being, then please heed this video. I know that this might not resonate with everyone, and some people may feel almost like they're having to give up a part of themselves if they listen to this advice. But you'll know if it's for you, and this is why I'm making this video, because I know that there are people who are similar to me, and this is something that if I did not cut out of my life, honestly, I don't know what would happen to me. So this is why this is very, very, very important to me and close to my heart. And so I want to help those who are similar to me, but they're just not sure how to get out of this pattern or stop completely. So the topic we're talking about today is graphic TV, so violence, emotional distress, and high cortisol inducing TV programs. And does this affect your mental health, your state of being, and your spiritual growth? So I have broken this down into the what/why. Then we're going to go into some of the symptoms that you can recognize in yourself to see whether this is affecting your life. We're then going to go into talking about how to actually make a change, because what good is having the information if there's no way to actually get out? So I will break it down for you step by step, how I got out. And it's quite simple. They're very simple things, really practical things that you can do. So let's begin with just talking about firstly the why. Why is this an issue to begin with? There are certain things that we can get very addicted to, and stress, adrenaline, anticipation are things that our brain craves the next thing of. So for example, when you're watching a TV show and it ends on a cliffhanger, have you ever been guilty of going, just one more, I just need to know what happens next, just one more? There is a reason for this, and the people who create the TV shows are very aware of human psychology and this need to close a loop, to know what happens next, and this burning desire to feel like you're not missing out on what comes next. And it also gives you a huge dose of dopamine, and we can get extremely addicted to this stimulus. This is why we can scroll on our phones for hours, and why we binge TV shows for hours. So we need to recognize in ourselves when we literally feel compelled to keep watching a show or to keep scrolling, to, for a moment, just a brief second, to be able to just cut the pattern and observe yourself can mean the world of difference in being able to get out of the trap that it keeps you in. Another huge thing which can really affect us on our healing journey and our spiritual journey and our overall life experience is our mind does not know the difference between real life, imagination, and second-hand emotions. So when we are watching really high stress TV programs, and if you are like me, very empathetic, I'm crying my eyes out when something sad happens in a show. When something distressing happens, I feel stressed, I start sweating, I'm sitting there like this, watching what's happening. My body feels as if I am in this show, living this experience. When someone dies, or there's a huge argument, or just a horrible scene, if someone gets kidnapped and all this horrible stuff happens, we literally feel like it is happening to us. Our mind can't differentiate between personal emotions and the emotions that we are inducing into our body through watching something. So I'm calling this the second-hand emotions. Now, on a spiritual level, what is this doing to our karma? And how does our karma affect our real life? So when we are literally inducing these emotions into our body, putting ourselves in this state of being, reality mirrors our state of being. So if you are experiencing awful things from the types of TV shows that you are watching, you are going to start feeling reflected in your life, either emotionally, mentally, or God forbid, actions will start happening in your life that is going to mirror back what you feel on the inside. So if you are now feeling more depressed because your show is depressing you, you're going to start feeling more depressed when you are not watching your show. You're going to start seeing sadder things in your outside reality. And like I say, God forbid, some things might start happening to you because you are now on the frequency of these bad things. You're a match for them because you keep lowering your state of being to these low vibrational experiences that could start showing up in your real life. So this is really important to bear in mind, that there is something so much grander and bigger than us going on in the universe. And when we can understand how things reflect and that what we feel inside is what we see in reality, we might start being a little bit more careful with what we are watching, reading, consuming, and letting our state of being be. So this is something to really heed the warning of and really take it to heart. And if this sounds like woo-woo mumbo jumbo, that's okay. It's just not time for you to hear this or maybe step into this power, but it is real. And when you are able to tap into that more, you can see just how fast the reflection starts showing up, and it's unpleasant. It's very unpleasant, and we have the power to shift that. And when we have the power to shift that, and you're aware that you have the power to shift that, if you are not shifting it, that is a choice that you are making, and you need to take responsibility for your mental state and the things that start showing up in your life if you choose to not take the responsibility over your experience. So these are the main reasons why I feel like it is very important for us to pay attention to the kinds of television shows and movies and content that we are consuming, because it literally could be playing such a huge part in why you feel depressed and anxious and dazed and confused and unmotivated. So I'm going to list you some of the symptoms that I have been experiencing whilst I was watching a TV show that was quite graphic. And I know it's linked to me watching this TV show because prior to this, I had a very, very strict rule about my consumption. I do not watch negative, soul-draining, stress-inducing TV programs. And for some reason, I slipped accidentally into watching a show that was very stress-inducing. And it was so gentle and subtle that I didn't even notice that I had gone back on my rule. And this is what being unconscious feels like. It's so gentle, it's so subtle, you don't even realize that you're being sucked into a trap. So I'll tell you quickly the story. So I was watching The Flash, because I love DC, Marvel, all of that stuff. I was watching The Flash, which is 9 seasons long and like 24 episodes per season. And each episode is 40 minutes long. So you can imagine how much of my life this took up. I was watching The Flash and it was really good. Like, honestly, 10 out of 10, loved it so much. And if you're familiar with the DC world, there's a lot of crossovers amongst the superheroes, and the Arrow kept showing up in The Flash. And so after I watched The Flash, I kind of dabbled in watching the Arrow a little bit. I watched a couple of episodes and I was like, this is actually really good. But then I said to myself, in my sane state of mind, I was like, no, you've just finished a really long TV series. It already started to get a bit dark. It was still quite light because it's superpowers and stuff, so it wasn't like full on evil stuff. It was just like, you know, mildly stressful, but just, you know, still fun. And so I said, we're not going to start watching the Arrow because I know it's darker. Also, I don't want to commit myself to another 8 seasons of a show. Like, these long shows just like make me feel a bit brain dead after a while. So I said no, didn't end up watching it, went about my life. And then I think it was maybe about a month later, I caught a cold. And you know when you're sick and you're lethargic enough that you can't get out of bed, but you're awake enough that you don't want to sleep the whole day, so you just chuck the TV on in the background just so there's something to kind of engage you, but you don't need to do anything. So I was like, I don't want to even think about what to put on. Like, I'm so ill, I just want something on so that I'm not just laying in bed like doing nothing for the whole day. And so I put the Arrow on, and I was intending to only watch it on the days that I was sick. So I was sick for 2 days in bed. So I watched the Arrow for 2 days in bed. And I was so into it because this is the thing. With these TV shows, I am not denying that they are really good. They're really great at telling stories and anticipation and keeping you really, really engaged. Like, they're good. And I understand why we enjoy watching them. No doubt about it. They are entertaining as hell and they're really good, and you can get really attached and engaged with the characters, like, for real, let's just be honest here. So I ended up, after I got better, continuing to watch Arrow. And after, I think it was a week of me watching it, I started to notice the symptoms. So Arrow is quite dark. Like, it's actually, like, yeah, it's DC, but it's dark. And stuff was going on that I, for many moments during the show, was going, I don't know if I can keep watching this. Like, this is making me feel a bit sick. But because I was so invested in the characters and the story arc, I was like, oh, just push through. Like we don't watch dark stuff like this too often, so we'll just watch this one, you know. And these are the symptoms that started happening, okay? First one, tapping. Like, your leg, you know, when your leg's just like jittering, and my hand started tapping on things. Tapping whilst I'm watching it, and after, when I'm not watching any TV and I'm just out and about in my day, I noticed I was having a conversation with my mum, and I'm just like, and I was watching that and I was going, I'm not a tapper. I don't have anxious jitters. So what is causing this right now? Because my life is good. My life is very peaceful. So where is this coming from? And this is the thing again with when you're unconscious. Your ego will try and shift you from the truth so much. It's actually almost a little bit embarrassing to, like, in hindsight, to notice how you kept falling for the ego's misdirection of, oh no, it's not that, it's just this. Oh no, it's not that, it's this. This is not a TV program, of course not, it's this. Such a fool. But this is what happens. You fall for it. You're so convinced that everything's fine, and it's not. This action is so harmless. It's just a TV show. Like, oh. So, first thing was tapping. The second thing was I noticed that I was starting to feel really depressed and anxious just all day for a few weeks. I honestly couldn't pinpoint what it was, because like I said, my personal life is really peaceful and going really well. Like, I'm so happy in myself. So why am I feeling so depressed? I was out with my mum, we were having a day out, and I was just like, oh my God, I have not felt this feeling of I just want to curl up in a ball in so long. And the only thing that I felt like doing was going home to put my show on and curl up in a ball. So this is the thing as well, is it's literally almost like an addiction, because the thing that's causing you to feel depressed is the show. And then the only thing that feels like it relieves you from your depression is sitting down and curling up and watching your show. And it ends up being this loop that you get trapped in. And you need to be strong enough and aware enough to get yourself out. You have to cut the chain somewhere, because otherwise you're stuck. And I was stuck for about 2 to 3 weeks in this loop of feeling depressed, and then using my show to get me to feel some sense of relief. But it was the thing that was making me feel depressed. And it was because of the secondhand emotions. So much distress goes on in this show. And I am a very empathetic person. I was taking on all of these emotions, and I started feeling like I was going through these things that the characters are going through. So I literally was feeling depressed and traumatized, like how I had felt in my real life traumatic experiences. Now in my waking day, I was feeling essences of that creeping up and becoming stronger and stronger as the days and weeks were going on. This is real impact because it was affecting my work. I was feeling so lazy and so unmotivated. My creative flow had disappeared, because when you're feeling really down and depressed, it's hard to be all like, let's create some artwork, and all of these wonderful ideas are flooding in. Like the door kind of closes on it, and everything was kind of crumbling. I was becoming lazier, less motivated, and the worst thing of all was feeling my connection to God starting to dissipate, because I was so distracted with this show. So this leads me to one of the other symptoms was every single time I close my eyes, when I try and meditate, and when I would dream at night, the plot line of the show would be in my head, and I would be contemplating the storyline, or scenes would be replaying in my head. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw someone getting stabbed or beaten up or kidnapped. And why would we think it's okay or normal to have it so that anytime you close your eyes or go to sleep, you are seeing literal graphic images playing on loop in your mind, and think that's not going to affect your being and your state of being and your mental health? So that was another symptom. Another one was becoming extremely angry. And I think this was for 2 reasons. The first one was because the show was very angry. Everyone in the show was angry, expressing huge emotional bursts very often, seeking revenge often. So anger was now a flavor that I was feeling every day, numerous times a day whenever I would watch this show. So I was injecting anger into me, constantly injecting anger into me. And so I became very angry, frustrated, just feeling anger stuck in my body, and again being like, why am I feeling angry? I'm not angry at anything though, but I feel so angry. And to the point where I had to actually, on my couch, set up my pillows just so that I could punch them, like crazy punch them, because I had so much anger in my body and I didn't know how to get it out. So I had to resort to baseline physical action to release this anger. And the second reason I felt really angry was because I had abandoned myself, and my soul knew it. I had given into something that I had set a boundary on myself for, which is watching graphic TV shows. I had accidentally slipped into it, didn't even notice, and then was playing dumb convincing myself that it's fine. And I was angry, like myself, my soul was angry that I had let this happen and that it was taking me so long to get out. So as I list through these symptoms, I want you to honestly ask yourself if you have any of these or have had any of these for a long time, and you're someone who watches any form of graphic or stressful TV shows. Honestly, ask yourself if you have these symptoms, because you might be thinking, I'm just a depressed person, I am just an anxious person, I just have all of these emotions in me and I am just broken. There may be stuff going on in your personal life, of course, but even if 20% or more of that is due to the things that you are consuming, you can decrease that in yourself by eliminating this from your life. Because like I said, I had a rule that I didn't do this. I was feeling on cloud nine almost every day. And then just from watching one show, I honestly felt so lost, so detached from God, so depressed and angry and anxious, like my body's twitching and tapping and I can't focus. I went to the most unconscious level I have done in a couple of years, all from one TV show. So just bear this in mind if you are serious about your healing and your growth and your spiritual development. Okay. Two last symptoms was I couldn't concentrate during conversations anymore. So when people would talk to me, I'd notice that I just couldn't keep present and I would drift off into my head, thinking about random stuff, sometimes thinking about the damn show, just the plot line just running in my head. I couldn't listen. I was watching myself being the kind of person that I don't particularly like, the kind that just nods and is not really listening, not very present, doesn't really respond with any substance because you weren't really listening in the first place. And just watching myself turn into a zombie, become more and more unconscious, and due to the amount of stress that was in my body, I feel like that was a reaction to just wanting to tap out. Just needing to be like, oh, I'm not feeling too good. I just can't be here right now. And so it's like seeping back into your unconscious ways. And this was the saddest part, because if you've ever experienced your level of consciousness shifting up and down, you might have similar things to me, but like, for example, one thing for me is my sight changes. The more unconscious I am, the fuzzier everything feels and seems. And the more conscious I am, the more sharp, vibrant, crystal clear things become. And I go in my garden very often and just look at the view and be with the birds and the trees and stuff. And I remember being out there and just feeling glazed, like no one's home. And it's the saddest thing when you notice that you have gone, you're just not there anymore. And when I came back, when I stopped watching the show and I came back to being a functioning alive human being again, and I went outside and I was like, oh my God, I feel like I've not used my eyes in weeks. Like I have not been here in weeks. And I feel like I'm alive again. I'm actually like here again. And this is the saddest part. And here's the thing, if you are watching this video coming from a place of knowing something's wrong, but you've been doing it for years, you may have never left the fog. And so you can, for the first time, start being a functioning, conscious, autonomous human being that's like actually looking through your eyes and actually present in your body and able to listen and engage in conversations. That in itself is an elevation of your life like you cannot even imagine. And again, this shift is from one TV show for me. And I'm no special human being, I'm just like you. So if this is something that can happen for me, just this one thing can create this much impact in my life, then there are many of you out there who can also have this much impact in your life by making these small changes. So here are some of the effects that I noticed. Obviously there were many symptoms and stuff, but some of the effects were me feeling extremely lonely and disconnected. And I think this was because I lost my connection to God and myself and my consciousness, as well as I think it just started implying this need to fill a void because of this addiction feeling that was coming up. And the addiction feeling implied a lack in fulfillment in my life. So it was as if normal life was empty and I only got my dopamine hit when I watched the show. And this is a very dangerous and scary pattern to get yourself into, because nothing feels satisfying in normal life anymore, and you will find yourself like rushing to get home to watch the show, or being out with people, actually socializing and being with loved ones and being like, oh, I just can't wait to go back to my room and be by myself and watch my show, because now normal connections are not giving you that dopamine because you are spiking yourself so high with it from your stressful TV shows. Now normal life is boring and not enough, and that is just such a horrible pattern to get yourself into. It's like you need to detox from it to get your levels of enjoyment and dopamine from normal life to actually feel impactful again. And the second one was, I don't know if you guys have this, but do you experience your loved ones' consciousness levels shifting when yours shift? Because I've noticed it significantly with my mum. So whatever consciousness level I am at, she is an exact mirror to me, and vice versa. So when I am really awake, aware, present in my body, I notice that my mum comes up, she matches my frequency and she's more alert and switched on. And when I drop down and I'm more like a zombie again, I notice she becomes more zombie-like too. And it was really sad actually, because when my mum becomes more unconscious, she stops actively listening to me when we have conversations, and it makes me very sad. I get really, really, really sad when she asks me a question and I answer it and I can tell she didn't hear me, and we'll just start talking about something else. And this makes me so, so sad. And I had to honestly just say to myself, like, this is my karma. This is an effect of me doing what I did, me engaging in this show and me dropping my consciousness level down and abandoning myself. I'm now feeling abandoned by the people in my life, and it's showing up in the reflection. And you have to sometimes, again, take responsibility, because when you know that it's a mirror, and especially when you notice it, you two matching all the time, I was like, I gotta take this. I can't even get sad, like this is me. I caused this, because she is reflecting back to me exactly what I've been doing to myself. And I just have to take it. And I know that now I'm back, she will act different to me and not do that anymore. And so you use people as mirrors, because they really are showing you how you are treating yourself. And it's just a great barometer to use if you're able to be like, yeah, I deserve that. That is all on me, unfortunately. And I'm not saying that this is for all situations, but you'll know if you get used to this, sensing other people's levels rising and falling along with yourself. I'm not going to go into that anymore right now, but yeah. Okay, so what do we do what do we do to change this? How do we get out? If you noticed, this is something that you're like, oh my gosh, this is so me, and I want to stop. I want to get out, but I feel like actually addicted to the adrenaline and the cortisol and the stress and the dopamine hits. You want to change, you want to get out, but you don't know how. First things first, what I want you to do is watch your show. But I want you to watch your show now with an observational lens on. You're not unconsciously watching your show anymore, you are consciously watching your show, but you are watching yourself watching your show. So I want you to analyze how you feel from the moment you sit down to watch it, and watch yourself throughout the whole episode, or however many episodes you would usually watch in a night, for example. Then I want you to go and journal so honestly about your experience. So when I did this, what mine said was, I was feeling extremely anxious, restless, and almost like I needed the hit of watching my show prior to watching it. Then when I sat down to watch it, I felt release. I felt peaceful. I felt like I could exhale for the first time all day. So I wrote that down. Really watch yourself. I felt like I could breathe again. Then after 20 minutes of watching an episode was 40 minutes. After 20 minutes was when the tapping started again, and I would become jittery and unsettled, and I could feel the stress present in my body. And then by the end of it was when I felt this numb feeling in my brain, like the unconsciousness, the brain dead inducing, just, it's almost like a static hum, was so loud and so present. So observe yourself, start really paying attention to what your body is communicating to you and the feelings. So like the instant release for me makes me feel a bit sick, because it's literally like having a hit of a drug, of something that you're like, oh my gosh, I can't cope without it, and without it I just don't know what peace is, I don't know what stillness is. I don't like that. I don't see that as a good thing. I see that as you have a dependency on something, so you have lost your free will and your autonomy over yourself. So even that, pay attention to. Then I noticed the immense amount of stress that was in my body and all of the symptoms that were coming up from it. And I had to get really honest and say, I do not feel good after watching this show. I feel lower, heavier, drained after watching this show. This is not a feeling that I wish to entertain or have more of, or communicate to the universe that this is a state of being that I wish to pursue in my life. So get really clear on the bigger picture of why this does not serve you and your whole life that you wish to create for yourself. It does not serve you, and it is anchoring you down in lower frequencies. Next, I want you to confirm to yourself in a simple sentence, a simple statement, in a really firm way, I do not wish to do this anymore. I'm setting this free, I'm releasing this. This is not a part of who I am anymore. The next step is to close all loops. So like I said at the very beginning, we really like to know what happens next. And it's very difficult for us to walk away from things when they're incomplete, because our curiosity and the need to conclude is really, really strong and could be the thing that makes you go, I can't stop. I'm 5 seasons in. I need to know what happens. Like, how can you tell me to just stop watching this show? Like, I literally care about these characters. I want to know what happens. So we need to close these loops so that we can walk away feeling satisfied, concluded, and no part of us is like thinking about it, like, oh, just what happens though. So what you can do is go onto Google, and on Wikipedia, if you type in your show name and the season that you're on, it gives you an episode breakdown in a paragraph. Every main point you need to know. I want you to read your next episode. instead of watching it. Read the next episode and keep going until you go, I don't give a shit. I don't care anymore. I just don't care, okay? So if that means you have to spend a couple of hours and literally read the whole show, that's so much better than you watching the whole show, because you still find out everything, but you don't have to visually see it, and you're not spending 10 times the amount of time invested in this. So read the episodes instead of watching the episodes. And if you're like me, I read the rest of the season and then I didn't care. I was like, I don't need to read the next 4 seasons. I'm good. Like, concluded the part I'm currently watching, close all those loops. Cool, good to go. The second thing that I really wanted to know was in Arrow, Oliver and Felicity's love story. I'm a romantic. All the love stories in things are honestly the thing that keeps me watching most of the time. I really wanted to see their love blossom, because they hadn't even got together yet, but I knew that they got together from watching The Flash, because they like came in and out, you know, the crossovers. And I was like, I want to see it happen. I want to know what their love story is. So I went on YouTube and I typed in Oliver and Felicity's love story. And there was a 2-hour video from the very first episode to the very last episode of just Oliver and Felicity's romance. And I was like, bravo to whoever made this, because you are saving my life right now. So I watched the 2-hour video, and I know 2-hour video is a long video to watch, but 2 hours is 2 episodes of pure romance, no more violence and all the horrible stuff, over watching another 6 seasons just to find out this story. Is countless hours. I would need a calculator to work out how many hours that is. So 2 hours over all of that. I was like, okay, for the sake of my well-being, I will watch this video. Thoroughly enjoyed watching it because it was the part I actually cared about. And I was happy whilst watching it because it was all just the sweet stuff, none of the violence. So I really enjoyed it and I closed the loop. I knew their love story. No more curiosity that was linking me to that feeling of wanting to finish the whole show. And the final thing that I really needed to close the loop on was, I love watching people find out about superheroes' identities. That is like, I want to watch them find out, and that will keep me watching the show, because I'm like, yeah, but this person still doesn't know, and like, do they ever tell the whole world? And so again, YouTube, I went and I watched a compilation of every single person finding out about Arrow's identity, and that satisfied that for me. I was like, oh cool, I got to watch every scene when that happens, all of the, oh my god, I should have known. I got to watch it all. I got to watch, you know, yeah, just every reveal. Again, loop closed. No more curiosity. I've watched it now. And so identify the things that keep you watching the show. What are the hooks that you're like, I need to know how this ends? Find it on YouTube and read the episodes instead of watching them. Once all your loops are closed, I promise you, if you have accurately identified that you don't want this anymore for your life, and you've closed all your loops, you will feel free. You will feel like, okay, I am done. I do not need this in my life anymore. There is nothing left keeping me hooked or tethered to this thing anymore. The next step that you need to do is grieve. Grieve for 2 reasons. One, because if you are someone who gets very invested and attached to things, you are going to feel like you've had a death in the family. And I know that's extreme, but it's real. We are emotional beings and we cannot really differentiate between attachments very well. An attachment is an attachment, and when an attachment ends, we feel sad and we feel this hole in ourselves. So grieve, cry, just grieve for just all of the sadness. Just let it all out. Don't even label it. You don't need to know all the whys and where it comes from. Just let yourself grieve. Let it out. I had to grieve the show ending, or me ending the show, and I had to grieve the fact that I let myself get into that mess in the first place. Like, I was so sad for myself. Like, I was disappointed in myself, and I was sad that I put myself through that. And I was so grateful to God for not leaving me there. And I was just crying and crying and crying, saying, thank you for not leaving me in that. Thank you for making me feel so unwell that I couldn't take it anymore. And I had to come back online and realize what was going on. So grieve, be grateful that something or someone is pulling you out so that you can come back into the light again. So let your emotions out. The next thing I want you to do is separate the secondhand emotions from yourself. This might feel really difficult if you've been someone who watches very stressful TV shows for your whole life, because you may not even be able to tell what is you and what is not you. But I want you to still do this practice. So I'll walk you through it now. And I want you to do this anytime you are laying like in bed, or anytime you're sitting there just feeling really depressed and really anxious. So close your eyes. And take a few deep breaths. Now, I want you to identify the emotions in your body. I want you to pull them into your heart center, gather them in like there's a magnetic attraction, just pulling them all into one bubble. Scoop it all up, bring it all to your center. Feel it leaving your head, going down your throat, gathering in your heart. Feel it coming up your arms and centering at your heart. Feel it leaving your feet, leaving your legs, coming up your torso and gathering in your heart center. Feel the space, the emptiness, the lightness in all of your limbs and in your head. All of the emotions are all gathered in your chest. Now, take that big ball of emotions and bring it up your throat, up your face, and bring it into your mind's eye, right where your forehead is. So now you feel the emptiness in your chest. It's light, it's open, it's spacious. And now all of the emotions are in your mind's eye. Now I want you to take that bubble, picture it with a color, mine is blue. And now I want you to push it out of your head so that it's in front of you now and you can look at the ball of emotions. Observe it. It's no longer inside of your body, and you start to feel that spacious empty lightness filling through your head as well. Your whole body feels empty and light, spacious, and you're now looking at the ball of all of the emotions in front of you. These are not yours to carry. They are separate from you now. Push it a little further away. Now you could not touch it if you reached out your arm. It is that far away now. Keep feeling the spaciousness in your body. Feel the sense of peace and love and openness, calm. I want you to leave that bubble there. We're not going to make it completely disappear, because for you right now these emotions are very real and we want to honor that. However, we want to keep that space so that we can notice that they're real and they're there, but they are not yours to carry. I want you to keep the vast open space between your body and the emotions. And whenever you feel ready, this might be a day from now or a week from now, you can completely let that ball go so far away from you that it disappears. It doesn't exist anymore. Keeping this open, spacious feeling inside of your entire body. Bring your awareness back inside of your body, no longer on the open space outside or on the energy ball. Come back inside your body and take a moment to just bathe in that space. Gently open your eyes. It can feel so good, it's difficult to want to leave. So that is a meditation practice that you can walk yourself through, or you can come back to this section of the video. I'll make some separate videos where I'm not speaking beforehand, where you can just come and do these practices because they're so cleansing. And in all honesty, if I wasn't filming right now, I'd probably stay like this for another like 25 minutes because it's just so beautiful, and coming back to the empty self is it's like medicine for every level of existence. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to cleanse, release it all, create that separation so that you can find yourself again amongst all of the noise and the emotions and the mess that we cling and we stuff inside of ourselves. We can cleanse it all out. And then from here, you've released your old tendencies and habits that you know don't serve you anymore. You've closed all your loops and you have released any residual emotion and tension from your body. You are now a clean slate. You can move forward with so much more alertness and peace and love. And I want you to just observe yourself now moving through your life. Can you feel the difference in your conversations, the clarity in your sight, the state of being that hums inside of you has risen? And when you start gravitating towards more uplifting shows, ones that make you feel creative, you watch them and you feel warm and fuzzy, or like you've had a really good laugh, or you're inspired to go and create something, or even write your own show because what you've watched is so inspiring and so uplifting, you want to bring your own version of that to the world. Things that just uplift you and ignite your creative essence and your will to smile and feel excited to actually go and live your life, as opposed to feeling like the only thing you live for is to curl back up in a ball and go and watch your show. The shows you watch should make you feel ready and excited to go out into the world, not the other way around. Oh, powerful, powerful, powerful stuff. I hope that this was helpful. Right? Any questions that you have about this topic in the comments and I'll answer them the best that I can. I have on my website, you can watch, on my website you can find my courses, my programs, my ebooks. You can work directly with me. You can also ask me any personal question. I have a section on my website now called Ask Me. It's very similar to an agony aunt. I don't know how old you are and if you are familiar with agony aunts. If you're a millennial, you know what I'm talking about. So back in the day, in like magazines and stuff, we had a thing called an agony aunt, where people would write into the magazine company and there'd be someone who anonymously answered your questions. And I always wanted to be an agony aunt when I was like 10, 11 years old. And I was like, why not just bring this back? It's so perfect, but like in the new age of YouTube. So you can ask me anything and I will answer you in a YouTube video, specifically all the specific details of your problem. I will only refer to you by your first name. And it's just a beautiful way for me to have direct contact with you. If you do not have the means to work with me directly through coaching, you can do this for free, still get advice and answers. The only thing is, depending on how many requests I get, I can't guarantee that I will get to your question. And that's the only thing. Yeah. And I just think it's a really beautiful thing because our problems are so specific and nuanced sometimes. And when I make videos, they're all based off of my experience in my life, but you might not be going through the specific same things. So I can get to you and your specific problems. And also there are probably so many people going through your nuanced experience, so they can also get the advice, get the guidance, get the insights. So I just thought it was a really beautiful thing that we can do together. So if you're interested in that, you want to ask me a very personal question and I will get back to you via a video, you can go to the Ask Me section in the description. Check out all of the things I offer, and yeah, have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day, and I will see you soon. Love you loads. Bye.